Hey, good morning. Welcome to the Crush It Trading live show. This is Will V, the Psychomaniac Day Trader, and we are going to go over last Friday's setups that took place and talk about what's cooking for the week here. So let's start it with Apple like we usually do. And Apple had a pretty good move at the open to the upside here. We had a retest in this wick zone here. There it is right there at about 1041. And if you look at that on the 10-second here, let me turn the candles back on. I normally keep the candles off. It's easier for me to read the charts in the 10-second for entries, but here it is. Nice continuation to the upside. There's your retest at the 50 SMA on the 10-second, the wick zone, everything you need there to take this to the upside. And this was about a $2 move right there to the upside. Now, we did get into the crush it zone. Not a perfect touch, but that's okay. Doesn't always have to be perfect. Now, if you get over here onto the 10-second, now I like to get rid of the candles. This gives me a little bit of a better idea. Let's see if I can scrunch this up a little bit. So basically, well, I'll remove the candles in a minute here. I like to remove the candles so I can see the moving averages. And there it is. So you can see we're bullish all the way through here. And finally, we get this breakthrough on the 50 SMA on the 10-second. So we get this move to the downside. You get a little bit of a retest up here. And there's your retest for the move to the downside. Now I'll turn the candles back on so you can see that. There it is right there. So you kind of get, here's your retest candle right in here at about 1016. A little bit of an overshoot, pop and drop, move to the downside. You don't get the greatest move down, but once again, it is a highly probable trade. And you get a decent move to the downside here. What is that? Roughly about $1.50 on the crush it zone. But definitely the best move on Apple was that continuation of the upside here. Hands down. Kind of an A+ setup, to tell you the truth. So that was Apple. Looking into the future here this week on Apple, basically, I'll be looking for a break. I have this 1 hour level here, and basically just a break, retest, and a move higher. Or if we decide to move lower, I have this previous all-time high marked here. I'll determine here shortly. I'm going to take a peek at this, but if we do move to the downside, that's a big move. I'm not sure if we'll break it or not for a move to the downside. I don't like to trade in the range here, so I don't think I'll be looking for anything there, but I will probably move this up here just a little bit right in there. I think that'll be more likely the level that I'll be looking at for a move to the downside if we get that on Apple. Okay. So once again, there's my levels on Apple. Let's move on to Amazon. Amazon, a little bit of sideways trading. Didn't see nothing. I know there's nothing here for continuation. I can just basically see it. I don't even have any retesting or anything to the downside, but we do have a crush it zone trade, right? That's what we trade. Our main setup is the crush it zone, which is about a 70 to 80%. Did the stats on it for the last month, and it was 87% accurate. Not, I shouldn't say accurate, but 87% that we do get that reversal or that bounce off of the crush it zone for a pretty decent move. But here we have another one here. Let's look at it on the 10-second. So once again, you'll see that we're showing bearish. We're on this side of the 50 SMA. We get that crossover. We get that retest the 50 SMA and a nice move to the upside then. So I don't know how well you can see that, but this is a really decent move. This 50 SMA kind of represents the 9 right in here. So this is kind of your retest and at least $1 move. At least $1 move on that and higher if you wanted to hang on for most of the day. Okay. There's Amazon. Once again, I'm not hanging on to anything for Amazon for a swing right now. I flattened out my position and I will look for a re-entry here soon. We'll see if it wants to head back up at some point, but right now I'm flat on my Amazon position. Did quite well on it. And let me get rid of these here. I thought I had this set up for you. Sorry. Get rid of this. So this is kind of what I'm looking at for today. I'm not really going to keep this on my watch list, but if I did, what I'd be looking at is kind of this level here. Bear with me here a second. I'll get this level right in here. It's going to come up now. Come on. Okay. We go there. We kind of got this level in here roughly. Like I said, I'm not really going to be watching this. So I'm not going to concern myself too much on the levels 100%. But I will be trading the crush it zone on this. And once again, I'll be looking for a move that goes something like this to the upside. And we want to break, up, downside, and a break. It looks a little bit more bearish than bullish, but we'll see what happens. So that would be my prediction there on Amazon. More to the downside. You're gonna want to watch the cues and the SPY also to see which way it's moving if you decide to take a move on Amazon. So there we go. A little bit of a messy chart. I'll get that cleaned up. All right, let's move on to the next one here. Microsoft, a whole lot of nothing, just a bunch of sideways trading. Once again, I'm not really looking at Microsoft for anything either, but there's just no trade. There's really nothing there at all, nothing to work off of. But if we do look at the long term on Microsoft, it looks bearish. It's moving to the downside. I'd be waiting for some kind of channeling in here. You can see how we've been moving sideways, range trading since about August. Okay, we get these moves up, come down. Does that mean we're ready for a move up on Microsoft? Well, you'd think so, but at the same time, it could be consolidating to make a move down too. So it looks pretty bearish on the 1 hour. So this level I have here, let me mark this yellow right here so I can see it. And we'll fatten it up. Let me put this on the, there it is right there. So now that I'm on the 1 hour, if I was going to be looking for a play on Microsoft at some point, get this trend line in here. I'd probably be looking for something, depending on how we open up here, but move to the upside like this. If we get to the downside, maybe a bounce here, something similar to that. But once again, it's not on my watch list, but if I was going to be watching Microsoft, this is kind of what I'd be looking for right in there. Some kind of move that way. All right, AMD. AMD did not really have a crush zone trade, but we had a couple things going for us. Continuation of the upside. I had this key level marked out here at 113.21. And I would call this a pretty good move. Not a big one, but a decent one. We break the move. We break the key level here at about 932. We get up the previous day low, which is also not a bad setup. We don't quite touch it, but not a bad setup for the downside. Let me see if I can find this here on the 10 second. And you can see on the 10, we get a decent move on the moving averages. You can see how they're moving. They double over. We start to channel, get the retest of the 50 SMA for the move of the downside. Really decent move. So you got a couple moves here on AMD, right? We have this retest. So let's see if I can find it on the 10 second here. Kind of retesting in here, but we have the retest that takes place at 942. Move to the upside here. It does hit the previous day low again. And that would be the second one here. And now we get a nice move to the downside here also. This one here, you got to wait a little bit longer on, but you do get down to that key level again. So you got a pretty good move there. And this is worth about $1.41. Not bad for AMD. Not a gigantic move, but a nice, decent move. Very predictable. So that's AMD. And then we have this descending trend line here for the day, intraday that I put in here. You can see that eventually we break it. Kind of retesting. It's not really... doesn't have a lot of strength, really. It's just kind of consolidating. It does get a little bit of move to the upside before it continues down again and then acts as some kind of support right in here. So what we have loved to see is, we do have the 50 SMA here on the 1, and those are pretty important levels. They're pretty critical. You want to get that break right here and a nice retest for move to the upside. So even if you had taken this trade, I mean, it might have been worth it. Let me see. You put your risk reward in. You would have taken maybe this hammer candle in here. We move to the upside, trying to get up somewhere in here, probably stop out just below that impulsive move right there. And we want to have at least a 2-to-1 risk to reward, but I would be looking at this swing high right here. I think is a pretty decent level. You got to touch over here and here. And so that would have been a pretty decent move. That would have been the try anyways. You could have maybe scaled a little bit out, but it would have been a trade that didn't work out in the long run. But that was AMD. Now AMD still bearish. We are on the daily. You can see, we get these moves to the downside, and we kind of move up, move to the downside, then we kind of move up, downside, up, and now we're on that upswing, and we hit the 20 EMA. So we could be looking for another move to the downside. I don't trust it all that much. I don't know what's going to happen here. Like I said, I do believe it's bearish, but it's not a trade that I want to get into. And then we look at the levels here on the hourly on AMD. Open these up, and are these really good key levels? I don't know. I wouldn't say that they're the best levels, but we have a level here, and we have these highs right in here. So I think on AMD, one of the things I'd be looking for is, here it is, depending how we open up here, but move to the upside, retest, and move higher. We do have this daily level that's getting in the way, and same thing here. We got the 50 SMA, so we kind of maybe hitting here. If we break this, we can move to the downside, or we're going to hit that 50 SMA and break back up to the upside. So a little bit ambiguous for me. So I probably am not going to be really watching AMD, but I will watch it intraday. Look for the crush zones if we do hit one. But for now, don't really have any interest in AMD either. NVIDIA probably was, it was the best trade. On Friday, we had an awesome crush zone trade, a big move to the downside. And you can see it right here now. Before I get into the crush zone, I'll say, we did get above that wick zone. We did a little bit of retesting in here. I would say that, it's not perfect. Where is that right in here? So I put a fair value gap in here. So you can see we had this impulsive move in above the wick zone here, created a fair value gap, and we retested and moved to the high side. A little bit more risky, but then we got into the crush zone here. You can see the moving averages look perfect right in here. Okay. It's perfect. So a nice move to the downside, and you would have taken it all the way down to the 0 line, and would have worked out very, very well. Okay. NVIDIA going into the future here. It's been trading sideways also, kind of all over the place. We had this nice move off the 200 SMA on the daily. Now we're getting above the 1. So once again here, my plan on NVIDIA, and this is going to be one that I'll be watching, is we're going to move to the upside here, like this here, or down to the downside right there. So that's what I'll be looking for on NVIDIA. Also keeping the crush zone. I'll be watching that also. Okay. So that is NVIDIA. We got Meta. Meta has been one of my favorites lately. It's been hitting the crush zone quite a bit. And Friday wasn't a perfect crush zone hit, but it was nice. I did play it, got a little bit out of it. But also we have this key level here at 728.95, 729. We have a retest here at 1035, right in here for a move to the upside. And I do have a bearish exhaustion right here. I think it is bullish exhaustion, which means it's getting ready to move to the upside. So there it is. So NVIDIA played very well on Friday. All right. Let's look at, Meta. Meta played very well on Friday also. I do like the move off the crush zone, even though it's not perfect. If I open this up here, got the 1.618 in here. Just a little bit patient. You can see you got kind of these head and shoulder patterns. They work out in the crush zones a lot. So a lot of times if we get past the crush zone, look for these head and shoulder patterns. Where we break the crush zone, you retest it for that move to the downside. Now you could have randomly got in up here, and not randomly, but you would have gotten, if you could have gotten in, you could have got a little bit more out of it. But if you want to be a little bit more, waiting for the perfect opportunity, you had a little bit of a better opportunity here when you had this retest, pulls back right in here for a move to the downside. Kind of got the same move on there, but that was a really good move on Meta. This isn't a bad entry here either. You're start to channel to the downside. We have this move, this break of the 50 SMA. And this would have been a good entry, at least to the downside. And if you had stayed in the trade with your trailers, you would have not gotten stopped out, and you could have eventually maybe got a few more points off of a Meta, or if you wanted to hang on a little bit longer. But that was Meta. And the last one, well, let me see what Meta's got going on here. So what am I looking at today for Meta? Here we go. We got our new highs, right? 741. Meta has been the bomb stock. I'm telling you right now, this thing is just going crazy. It's going to hit $1,000 this year. I'm pretty certain of that. So I've been dumping money into this, into my retirement account, and just hang on to it long term. But you can see we're bouncing off of the 50 SMA here. And that's really all I've been playing on my swings here on Meta, is just taking these bounces and adding to my position. And just watching it ride. How long am I going to ride it? Until we get a break on the 1 hour. We broke this back on January 15th. Had this pullback here on the 1 hour, and just been riding it on a swing ever since. And taking, I got out a couple times, and then I re-entered again. And so now I added that swing here a couple days ago at this big dip on the 50 SMA. And we'll just keep taking that to the upside. Once again, just play the crusher zone levels. If we get a dip and rip here at the open where we get down to that crusher zone and we get that move towards the high again, or if we're going to get a pullback, we'll see how that goes. But definitely watching these two zones right here, the 128.83-ish and 125-ish. Is that what it is? Yeah, 21 or 725-ish right in here on Meta. So one of my favorite tickers. Last one here, Tesla. Tesla, we made money on also. Just a quick move out of the open to the downside. And you can see it right here, 50 SMA on the one. We break that 50 SMA and we retest it for a move to the downside, and it just keeps moving to the downside. Sorry, I had Alexa trying to talk to me. Right into the crusher zone. We took this crusher zone trade for a move to the upside. This paid very well. And that was a $4 move. Yeah, just that little move right there was a $4 move on Tesla. And I think we hit it a second time. I didn't get in the second time around. I think some other people did, but there was another move here right off of the crusher zone again, up to the 50 SMA for $4. Okay, so you guys know how to get in these moves. You know how to read those moving averages. I'm telling you, the crusher zone strategy works. We go through this almost every single morning. I talk about this during the trading hours too, that if you see these crusher zones, you just take the trades because, I think Tesla was paying 87% of the time, right? That is, that's how good this strategy works. 87%. So if you'd have played this 87% of the time in that crusher zone, you would have had a move. Now, sometimes that move only goes to the 0.618. Sometimes it goes to the 0.382. Sometimes it goes to the zero line, and sometimes you get a really big run worth a lot of money. But like I said, this is the crusher zone strategy. And if you want to learn it, check out the links below. Hang out in the room with us and learn how to be a consistent, successful trader. All right. With that said, we're going to get ready for the open here, and we'll talk to you guys shortly. If you have any questions, go ahead and ping me, and I'll try to get back to you as soon as I can. All right, guys, take care and have a good morning.